Boy, this is gonna be a doozy. Now, I consider myself an expert on Warcraft 3. I started this channel with the idea of mainly playing Warcraft 3. I have played Warcraft 3 custom campaigns for a long time. I have participated in many discussions on the Hive Workshop and on lore-based forums for a long time. And, even more interesting, I play Warcraft 3, The Reign of Chaos, once a year. Funnily enough, there seems to be other people that remember Warcraft 3, but they seem to only remember Reign of Chaos. And they seem to only remember that tiny bit at the end where Medivh kind of, forces the races to work together. So, now let's get on to why I think Warcraft 3 is a bad argument for cross-faction play. I'll leave my biases towards cross-faction play for a moment right now. I'll just put them a little bit aside, and let's talk about the main things. First of all, the Night Elves, to be more specific, were kind of in war with the Horde and the Alliance. Well, Alliance technically, but we'll get to that. They only joined forces once they knew the Burning Legion was a big problem at this point. It wasn't just what they were used to. And well, it was Medivh that basically told them to work together. And it was through Malfurion's cunning and intellect that he realized there is a way to win against Archimonde. And, well, that worked. The Night Elves only helped the Horde and the Alliance out of convenience more than anything else. Because there is no point in fighting this enemy right now and just be slaughtered by the bigger enemy while we're doing it. Consider this the balance of powers. When a nation, for example, gets too strong, other nations band together to tip the scale in such a way where neither of the two forces can fight each other. Well, without significant losses. But the balance of power is, fickle. It changes all the time. And thus, you cannot be sure what will happen next. But know that the Night Elves really didn't like these invaders in their forests. And if anything makes that clear, it's how they reacted to Grom Hellscream and him and his clan cutting their wood, which was not pretty. And the Night Elves still didn't like the Horde and the Alliance one bit after that. That's even the reason why Tyrande goes with her Night Elves and destroys that Horde, the Alliance, Stingy, and then kills the Paladin. It just happens, They don't really like people in their forest. Seclusive in nature and very isolation. No, that's the wrong term. They're seclusive in nature and they're very, very protective of their nature. They don't cut lumber, they use wisp for it. If you add the fact that the Horde just decided, the Horde, technically. When you take in consideration that the Horde just yeeted their demigod, Cenarius, well, yeah. You can understand why the Night Elves don't really like the Horde, or orcs in general. No, but they still work together, many might say. They did, because the Night Elves knew very well that the Burning Legion is a bigger threat than whatever these pesky mortals would be. And so they went in and joined to fight the Burning Legion. It was an alliance of convenience at that point. An alliance that really didn't last that long with the Horde. You would expect that from people that come to your land and try to take your resources. Next, I refer to Jaina's survivors, the survivors of Lordaeron and Kalimdor, as Alliance. But this is my fault because that's a mistake. They are not Alliance. And that's the funniest part. Terramore, even in Warcraft 3, is not an Alliance nation. It only becomes recognized as an Alliance nation after Warcraft 3. And thus they are not part of the Alliance. Or not technically. They don't form a nation. You can say, they're citizens of the Alliance. But that's like the concept of European citizenship. It's not really a thing, It's not really a thing. As much as people might want to say it is, not really. That's not how it works. So thus we can't even refer to them as the Alliance, or the Horde working with the Alliance, because they weren't part of the Alliance. And thus, to say that, all factions work together, well, not really. Stormwind might think differently. Khazad-Mudan even more so. And whatever is left of the elves that are now trying to fix their Sunwheel from blowing up in their face, I think they wouldn't be that happy. One faction many people forget that worked against the Burning Legion and worked so without the other factions knowing is the Scourge. Remember, it's Arthas that tells Illidan, go grab that skull, absorb its powers, and pump up yourself with juices and defeat that Dreadlord right there that's, a little bit nasty for us. Thing that he does. But this is more a Warcraft 3 concept than anything people bring into discussion. I think a lot of people just don't consider that. I think a lot of people just stop at the Reign of Chaos or that part, and they don't want to delve deeper into the lore of Warcraft 3 by itself. Because we can't forget one thing. Once Theramore gets established as its own city of sorts, who comes in and decides, yeah, this fraternity with the orcs isn't a good idea? Why? The Alliance. And here's the thing. Theramore by then wasn't part of the Alliance. It was only later on. But here comes Dalen Proudmoore to save his daughter from the vile orcs and their threat, because we still remember what happened during the Second War and what Thrall did during Lord of the Clans. I mean, for Lord of the Clans, the concept is more nuanced, and there's more to be talked about that. But from an Alliance perspective, it was just the orcs getting their fighting spirit back, and deciding to, mess things up for the Alliance. And what Dalen Proudmoore even shows during this, during Rexxar's campaign, is that, well, all grudges die hard, and the Alliance was never on board with working with the Horde. Or, the parts of the Alliance that were really the Alliance and not some band of... I would call them misfits, but I think that would be just mean towards them. But then again, they're just pixels on a screen. So yeah, they're just a bunch of misfits that fought the Horde and decided to fight alongside them thanks to Medivh. Like, Medivh is the main thing that united the races against the bigger threat, like Khadgar is in Legion, for example. Pretty interesting, right? Guess the apple doesn't fall that far from the tree, does it? So again, what we have now is a working of convenience between the Night Elves that hate the orcs and the humans, but more the orcs because they're responsible for their demigod. An alliance that... a band of misfits that I call the Alliance stupidly, but isn't part of the Alliance at that point. They don't even have their own city or stuff. They just yeeted to Kalimdor. So, not even the Alliance itself. And the Undiscouraged that has its own motives. Nice, right? Now, in a way, what else is there to say? It's a bad argument because none of the factions at that point had this, grander scheme of let's be friends in peace and cooperation. Nah, the Night Elves still hated their invaders, but they knew the Burning Legion was a bigger threat. So you can take care of the humans and the orcs later. The survivors of Lordaeron weren't even part of the Alliance. They represented nothing of the Alliance. And once they tried to establish themselves, the Alliance was like, no, we're not having that. And the Horde was always the Horde, with their whole retconning of being noble savages. Yeah, Warcraft 3 is a bad argument for this lore-wise. If you really want to make an argument, I really say avoid Warcraft 3, where the circumstances are of such nature that it's not really the best argument to make when most of the people hate each other. A party isn't even represented properly, and they're like, yeah, we're here because we listened to an old crow. Yeah, that's all.